So I've finally, as the English, found a way to beat the French. I hope this strategy will not be nearly as effective as time goes on in Age of Empires 4. But currently, it is serving me incredibly well. And I see no reason it won't do so in the near future. So a lot of this strat, besides just rushing units, relies on the fact that you cannot retarget your town center onto anything but the closest target. So that's something to keep in mind. This is the Ram Rancher build, where I corral all these silly players who think the Castle Age exists, and I beat them back into the Feudal Age and out of the game. So, what do we do? 7 on food, 8th villager, rallied out onto gold. It's going to be 3 on gold, with 2 pulled off in order to build the council hall. I've liked building houses nearby to key resource locations, because while it doesn't wall, it definitely doesn't help cavalry and stuff like that move around. So for food, I'm just going to stick with the sheep, and then English can make farms pretty quick, so if it comes down to it, I'd rather make farms near my TC than go out hunting. But while the sheep's here, it's the cheap version. So 8 on food, 3 on gold. Next up, we got villager number, well, 2 on gold now pulling off as I get close to 400. I'm not cutting any villagers for it. I'm just trying to make sure I'm able to get it. And I think starting the council hall right at about 230 or so is still a pretty quick feudal age. Why did you put it over there? I don't know. I think what happened is I looked at the map, and I'm like, oh, yeah, because I want it near my opponent. Rallying out a 3rd villager. I still got 1 on gold, because I'm going to need a bit of gold for upgrades, not for units. Detected. Thank you. But for units. But not for units, rather. It is for the siege engineering upgrade, which allows your villagers to pick up a bunch of sticks around them and cobble them together into the tankiest unit in the early game. And is the basis for most of this strategy. Like, I think going for longbows and then barracks units, obviously against French. I picked a game against French because obviously a lot of people struggling at the moment against it, as those knights are so pesky. But the thing is, the knights, spears counter them. You do have to get them in position. Longbows, not as good, but what I'm ending up with here is 8 on food. I'm not going to need many more. Longbows are pretty cheap. And I want to get to 12 on wood as soon as possible, because I need a lot of wood for longbows. A lot of wood. I need to build a barracks. Pikes also take wood. So I've scouted with my scout, as one would. And I actually touched his gold. I touched it with my eyes. So what I'm doing right here is, 1, I'm scouting for his feudal timing, and I'm literally counting the gold. You can see how much. And if he only has 2 on gold, which I'm not entirely sure why, but I'm happy about it, because that means he won't have that many knights off the back, and my feudal is quicker. So, as soon as I have the wood, ideally before the council hall finishes, right around 4:30, I could, if I saw him doing a particularly quick build, I could add more villagers to build the council hall, though I usually wouldn't rather do that, because you want to have a decent baseline economy. So for now, it's going to be longbows and pikes, and spears, whatever we're calling them. The English have built-in tier 2 spearmen, so you don't need to upgrade them. Against another Englishman, I might consider man-at-arms, which has a ridiculous amount of ranged armor. But right now we're just funnying out, because the longbows, I mean, it's in the name. Ideally, so you gotta be, if your reflex is from AoE 2, it's gonna feel like losing anything is bad. You gotta remember, these are all trash units. Longbows are 40 food, 50 wood, and spears are 80 food and 20 wood. You don't want to just throw them away, but if you trade 4 or 5 of them for a knight, that's a definite win, especially if you're trading them. And this is a particularly good map for me here, as I'm able to just poke and prod at his gold. And honestly, you should be able to get to the gold with longbows. It just depends on the map. Sometimes you'll have to go around the back or pick other resources. First priority is gold, and then any food, though rarely will you be able to get to the food, and then wood. And if they're going for stone, that means they want to make a TC, or they want to make stone walls because they think that'll save them. So, I've got 7 on food. I've got 15 on wood, which is a bit much, but I do need to build a blacksmith. I actually go out for the deer. Sometimes I'll do that if it seems convenient. Honestly, I probably shouldn't have done that, as the one risk to this build is if I lose a critical mass and he starts counterattacking with things like knights or horsemen, then it can start to spiral. A very important thing is the scout on hold position in a good location. If you use the select army hotkey or particularly less than decent box select, the scout provides over 3 times as much vision radius as your other units. And this allows you to actually reposition and move around in a timely manner. So that way you don't get caught completely off guard. So out of here, I got the blacksmith and a villager feeling very accomplished that the blacksmith is finished. The upgrade we're looking for is siege engineering, which costs 50, 125. And allows you to construct those rams. And technically siege towers, but yeah. Maybe if you could click the button, me. Not really a great example of the build order gun. But it's obvious he's microing on the other side, and the longbows are able to pick off villagers. You also have the palings, which act kind of like pikemen, in that they stun cavalry that charge into them. I won't explain the brace mechanic now, but putting your... I guess I will. Spearmen on hold position facing the direction of a charge will stun and damage the targets they're facing when they charge in. So, obviously that's better than getting charged by knights. I still haven't researched siege engineering. There's a lot of back and forth here. Sometimes players will build an outpost. If they build an outpost or a tower or any sort of thing that doesn't move very fast, and they think that will save them, that's when you want to get siege engineering more quickly. If they're relying on units, usually just making sure you have the units is better. Do I not even go siege engineering this game? So yeah, this is just straight running down the French, I guess. Not a great example game, Jimmy. I mean, shows that even against someone spamming knights, the pikes and some decent positioning are more than enough. And once you're able to make enough progress and have a critical mass of longbows, well, you're gonna have a bad time at this point. So you gotta think, it's not just about how much damage I do. This has not cost me any villagers. I should be building more villagers at home, but right now I'm at 22. He's at 24, which is actually pretty impressive. What I'm seeing now is my macro is poor, and I need to build more villagers. The French also build villagers faster than anyone else because they do, and that's how it is. So that explains a bit of it, but not all of it. There should be more. Very lazy. Wow, micro your macro. So, yeah, 600 wood in the bank, 7 idle villagers. Trying to cajole my pikes into being in the right spot. But I think we'll go over another game, because this build, this is about the most straight up. Like, it's not, I almost hesitate to call it a build, even though it is. Because it's literally just building longbows and pikes. But if you follow these basic tenets and understand your strengths, you too can avoid ever seeing the Castle Age. Which is pretty nice for expediting things. So yes, this did not require any rams, but I'm not here to disappoint you. So, let me try to find one here. Don't worry. I've had some success, so we can pick from a wide variety. Here's another French. I would say, how does this work against English is another one. Because the Englandos, they also have the same units. So pretty much, you build longbows and men-at-arms. Some people will try horsemen. Horsemen are quite easily countered by pikes. Having a barracks gives you options against both longbows and against horses, so the barracks is a pretty safe bet. Oh, I remember this game. This game, I get Dark Age rushed. So, this was probably the closest version of this build I've had so far. Where I get attacked even earlier than the Feudal Age, as spears show up, and people have started doing this. Not sure. Oh, he's killing my sheep so they can't run away because he built a tower outside my base. So these are some premium replays we're showing. But the point really here is, no, even if things go horribly wrong, there really aren't that many pieces to put together. Because even though it costs a little bit of extra wood, the English farms are only 37 wood. And farms last forever. You don't need to reseed them, like in AoE 2. So just 37 wood, and I have an unlimited, approximately 40 food a minute, very roughly. So, not a terrible investment. And there's almost always a way to get your units out of the base. You just got to be a little careful about it. So this is kind of like in StarCraft 2, when the Bronze League heroes cannon rush. What are these towers actually accomplishing? This is 300 wood, plus whatever's in the towers, which is villagers and spears. What are they doing? They're denying me the berries and the sheep, which I don't really want that badly anyways. So now I see he's going to play a little more defensive. He's got Feudal. And of course he's making knights, as one does. My goal in all this is to deny his gold as much as possible. And then ram him. A lot of people I've seen say, like, the ram is a counter to like a 2 TC opener, like a fast expand. It's supposed to put on pressure if they're greedy. I consider the ram any TC counter. So if they do have a town center, and many do, the ram is a counter to it. Siege engineering is finished. They are now doing the conclave committee as they make the rams in the forest. Can fit 16 dudes in that ram. Gets a little crowded. They're used to it. It was a different age. A feudal age. Alright, so 2 rams. And everyone else. But the key point is that town centers and towers will always target the closest target until it is dead or completely out of range. So there are a lot of knights here. My rams, I eventually get them motivated again. Micro. Most of this micro is me control clicking my longbows behind the spears. And the spears eventually find their way out on top. I want to point out something else as well, because at this stage I have, what do I have? We have +1 attack. I've adapted, and we've done some math. Armor upgrades are almost always better, because they apply to all units besides siege, so archers and pikes. Weapon upgrades usually don't scale as well, though for units like longbows, they're not bad to have, because they only have +1 damage. So for things like spears, that's usually not a huge deal, because they're mostly reliant on the bonus damage anyways. So villagers and spears have torches, which do extra damage against buildings, and rams are considered buildings. A lot of units have torches, besides archers. But he lost so many villagers defending the push. There you go. And that's the beauty of this, such as it is even if you get pushed back, you fall back to having a perfectly decent economy. Like, the fallback strat is still fine, and the best case scenario is obviously very good. So, ram some dudes for me today, my followers. Or dudettes. Enjoy. Like and subscribe.